Before we begin, just take a second, not a long second, just enough to notice where you are. If you'd like, you can like the video, or subscribe, or don't. It really doesn't matter right now. If you feel like it, though, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I always find that part strangely comforting, knowing that somewhere, someone else is awake, or half awake, or trying to fall asleep, but not quite ready yet. All right, get comfortable. You don't need to pay close attention. Nothing important is going to happen quickly. Now, imagine a room that was never meant to last. Not a grand hall, not a destination, just a room that happened because people were tired. Someone had been walking too long. Someone else was cold. Someone else had something wet and bitter in a bucket and thought, well, I suppose I could sell this. That's how it usually starts. Not with intention, just with inconvenience. A medieval tavern, at first, is not an idea. It's a solution, a temporary one, a door that stays open a little longer than it should, a fire that doesn't go out when the family goes to bed, a bench dragged closer to the warmth, a cup that doesn't belong to the person holding it. No sign, no name, no plan for tomorrow, just tonight. And tonight turns out to be useful. The floor is uneven. It always is. Packed dirt, maybe scattered with old straw that was clean once and then wasn't. It smells faintly of smoke, damp wool, and something sour that used to be grain. Nobody comments on the smell. If anything, it's reassuring. The fire crackles, not because anyone arranged it carefully, but because that's what happens when you throw wood at heat and hope for the best. The smoke doesn't rise politely. It wanders. It lingers. It settles into hair and fabric and lungs. People blink more than usual. They get used to it. Someone sits on a bench that was never meant to hold 3 people. It creaks, but it doesn't break. So, it becomes a bench for 3 people from now on. That's how permanence works here. Nothing is declared permanent. It just survives being used. The drink is poured, not carefully, not measured with precision. The cup is filled because the hand pouring it has done this before, and because arguing about the exact amount would take energy nobody has. The drink tastes thin, or sharp, or slightly off. No one complains. Complaining would suggest expectation, and expectation would be dangerous. This isn't a place where things are supposed to be good. They're just supposed to exist. Someone laughs too loudly. Someone else looks over, annoyed, then decides not to care. It's warm. That helps. At some point, someone realizes this has happened before. Last week, maybe? Or last market day? Or every evening? Recently, the door keeps opening. People keep coming in. Not because they were invited, but because the light leaked out into the street. And light means people are awake inside. That's all the tavern really needs in the beginning. Proof of life. Someone eventually hangs something outside. Not a sign. Not really. Just something visible. A branch. A bundle of leaves. A scrap of cloth that moves when the air moves. It's not meant to mean anything specific. It just says, yes, something is happening in here. Later, People will insist it means more than that. Tradition has a way of rewriting accidents. Inside, the room keeps adjusting itself. A barrel is rolled closer to the wall because someone tripped over it. It stays there. Now it's furniture. A corner becomes the corner where people lean. Another corner becomes the corner nobody chooses unless the room is full. The fire gets surrounded by bodies, not ceremoniously, just gradually. Someone sleeps on the floor without asking. No one wakes them. That's important, because the moment someone sleeps there and isn't chased away, something shifts. The room stops being just a place to drink. It becomes a place to stop. Stopping is powerful. Stopping turns movement into memory. The person who owns the house notices this change the next morning. The floor is dirtier. There's a smell they don't remember from before. A cup is missing. But there's also coin. Not much, but enough to notice. So tonight, the fire stays lit again. Still temporary. Always temporary. No one says, "This will become my livelihood." They say, "Well, I suppose it worked yesterday." That sentence has built more institutions than anyone likes to admit. Soon, there's a habit. People arrive expecting the door to be open. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. On the nights it isn't, someone knocks. Not aggressively, just hopefully. Hope is difficult to ignore. The owner opens the door. Just this once. Inside, the room is louder now. Not because people are happier, but because they know each other a little better. Someone argues about a game that may or may not have rules. Someone else claims they won last time. No one remembers clearly. Memory in taverns is flexible. That's one of its features. The cups don't match. They never will. One has a chip. One is wooden and tastes faintly of everything it's ever held. One is heavier than expected. They get swapped accidentally or intentionally. It's hard to say. Someone drinks from the wrong cup and decides not to mention it. Peace is often maintained by silence. Outside, it's dark. Inside, it's less dark. That difference matters more than comfort, more than quality, more than legality. At some point, someone asks if there's food. Not politely, not rudely, just as a statement. The owner looks around. There's bread. There's something in a pot that could be stretched. It wasn't planned for this, but nothing here was. The pot is moved closer to the fire. Water is added, then more water. The food becomes thinner, but more people get some. Everyone agrees this is fair. No one writes it down, but a rule has been created. Rules in taverns are rarely announced. They're felt. The night goes on longer than expected. Someone mentions the time. Someone else shrugs. Curfews exist. They always do. But curfews feel theoretical when you're warm. Eventually, someone in authority will notice. Not tonight, but soon. For now, the room keeps breathing. Breathing is important. It means the place hasn't become stiff yet. A bench breaks. Not dramatically, just quietly. Someone stands up holding half of it, surprised. Everyone laughs. Tomorrow, the bench will be fixed. Not well, but well enough. That repair will last years. People underestimate how long good enough can survive. The person who fixes the bench will do it quickly, because they have other things to do, because this isn't their main job. Later, it will be, but not yet. Someone mentions the drink tastes different tonight. The brewer shrugs. Grain changes. Water changes. Weather changes. Anyone who expects consistency is new here. That inconsistency becomes part of the experience. People talk about it. They remember which nights were better. Memory, again, flexible, generous. Soon, someone starts coming, not because they're thirsty, but because they want to see who's there. That's another quiet shift. The tavern becomes a place where things are known. Who owes who? Who's angry with whom? Who arrived yesterday and hasn't left yet? Information sticks to these walls, even when the walls are just wood and smoke. Someone hires someone else here. Not officially, just a conversation over a cup. Someone ends an argument here. Not cleanly, but enough. Someone starts one. All of this happens without anyone deciding this is what taverns are for. They just keep happening. The owner starts setting aside cups. The ones that don't leak. The ones people prefer. That's the beginning of inventory. A barrel is marked, not labeled, just scratched. That scratch will be misunderstood later. It will be copied. It will become standard. The door starts opening at roughly the same time each evening. Not because of a schedule, because that's when people start knocking. Knocking creates routine. Eventually, someone paints something outside or hangs something heavier. Now there's no excuse. This place exists. And still, it insists it's temporary. Just for travelers. Just for market days. Just until winter ends. Winter never really ends in places like this. It just changes its behavior. And so does the tavern. It adapts. Slowly, reluctantly, always pretending it didn't mean to. The thing about places like this is that they don't announce when they change. They pretend nothing has happened. The door opens again the next night, and the night after that. No one says, "This is now a tavern." They say, "Is there still some left? Still somewhat? Doesn't matter. Drink, warmth, company, something." The owner starts waking up earlier than usual. Not on purpose. Just because there's more to clean. Ash in places ash didn't used to be. Footprints that don't belong to anyone in the house. A smell that means people stayed late. They grumble while sweeping. Then they notice a coin under the bench. That helps. Soon, sweeping becomes part of the morning. Not because it's pleasant, because not doing it feels worse. That's another quiet rule. The cups get stacked differently now. Not randomly anymore. The chipped ones are pushed to the back. No one remembers deciding this. Some cups disappear forever. No mystery. They walked away in pockets, in sleeves, in forgetfulness. The loss is accepted as normal, which is important. Anything that becomes normal stops being questioned. Someone brings their own cup one night. No one laughs. It's practical. It avoids confusion. It also sends a message. I plan to be here long enough for this to matter. That person becomes a regular before anyone uses the word. Regulars don't arrive loudly. They just stop explaining themselves. They sit in the same place. They complain about the same things. They notice when something is different. Wasn't the fire hotter last winter? Didn't the drink used to be darker? Maybe, maybe not. Memory bends again. The bench that broke gets fixed badly. A different bench gets reinforced preemptively. Now there's a strong bench and a weak bench. People learn without being told. The strong bench fills first. The weak bench fills last. Hierarchy, invented by wood. Someone hangs their cloak closer to the fire than is polite. Someone else waits. No one wants to be the one who comments. This is how small conflicts are resolved here, by patience, not justice. The fire becomes the center of gravity. Everything orbits it. The air above it is thick. Eyes sting, voices lower. People lean forward when they speak, as if secrets are being exchanged, even when they're not. Someone mentions the road, not dramatically, just as a fact. The bridge was bad today. The mud is worse near the trees. These details spread faster than news of kings. Someone listens carefully. They're traveling tomorrow. This room becomes a map, not drawn, remembered. Someone asks for a place to sleep. The question is asked carefully. Sleeping changes things. The owner hesitates, then nods. There's space. Space means floor or a bench, or a loft that was meant for grain. No promises are made about comfort. That honesty helps. The sleeper curls up near the wall. Their boots stay on. Everyone pretends not to watch. In the morning, the sleeper will be gone, or not. If they leave coin, they're welcome back. If they don't, the memory becomes complicated. Complicated memories are common here. After a few nights like this, someone brings straw, not because it's required, because they're tired of stepping over bodies. The straw stays. Now there's a place where people sleep. No one calls it a bed. Beds imply intention. This is still temporary, always temporary. Someone starts arriving earlier to claim the warmest spot. Someone else notices and arrives earlier too. The opening time shifts. No announcement, just pressure. Pressure shapes schedules better than clocks. Outside, people start referring to the place indirectly, near the firehouse, where they pour that thin stuff. Eventually, a name appears. Not chosen. Inherited from a joke or a sign or a misunderstanding. The name sticks because it's easier than correcting people. Correcting people takes effort. A man with authority steps inside one evening. Not in uniform, just heavier somehow. Conversation dips, then resumes. He looks around, counts cups without counting. He says nothing, which is worse than something. Later, someone mentions rules. Quietly, are we allowed to be open this late? The owner shrugs. Allowed is a flexible concept until it isn't. The next night, the fire is smaller, not extinguished, just modest. Modesty is a survival tactic. Someone brings dice. They weren't invited. Dice have a way of appearing. They roll quietly at first. Coins are exchanged discreetly. No one claims to be gambling. They're just keeping score. Losing money feels different when it's done slowly. Someone loses more than they should. They laugh too loudly. Everyone understands this laugh. It means trouble later. Later is not tonight. Tonight, the fire still burns. A song starts. Not a good one. Someone forgets the words. Someone else fills them in incorrectly. The song survives in this broken form. It will be sung again, like this. That's how tradition is born. Through mistakes, repeated fondly. The owner listens while pretending not to. They've heard this song before, but never this version. They don't correct it. Correcting it would kill it. Someone spills a drink. It soaks into the dirt. The stain doesn't matter. It joins many others. The floor is a record, not a surface. Outside, rain starts. Inside, people stay. Staying is easier when leaving looks unpleasant. This is when taverns become necessary. Not because they're good, because they're available. The rain passes. People don't leave immediately. Momentum works both ways. Someone mentions tomorrow's work. Another groans. Work feels farther away in rooms like this. Time stretches. A second sleeper arrives. Then a third. The straw is rearranged. No discussion. Someone steps outside to relieve themselves. No one asks where they're going. Everyone knows. They return, wiping hands on their cloak. No one comments. Commentary implies standards. Standards imply effort. The owner realizes they need more cups. Not tonight, but soon. They think about clay or wood or just stealing them back somehow. This thought repeats over days. It becomes a plan. The plan becomes action. Now there are more cups. They still don't match. Someone complains about the drink being weaker. Someone else says it's always been like this. Both are right. Water is added more often now. Not out of greed, out of necessity. More people drink. The barrel empties faster. Making more takes time. Time is expensive. Water is cheap. No one likes it. Everyone accepts it. Acceptance is the true currency here. A child is sent to fetch something. A message. More wood. Change. Children are excellent messengers in places like this. They hear everything. They understand nothing. Later, they will understand too much. The fire dies down again. Someone stirs it without asking. Ownership becomes communal, near warmth. The authority figure returns another night, this time with someone else. They drink. That's significant. Rules soften when the rule makers sit down. The owner relaxes slightly, not fully, never fully. A small fee is mentioned, not demanded, just suggested. The owner nods. The fee becomes part of the cost of doing business. Business, still, is a word no one uses. They just say, well, that's how it is now. And that sentence settles into the walls, just like the smoke, just like the laughter, just like the idea that this place, which was never meant to exist, will be here tomorrow night too, and probably the night after that. Not because anyone planned it, because it would be strange if it wasn't. The food comes next. Not because anyone planned a kitchen, but because hunger has a way of embarrassing people. Someone asks, casually, as if they're asking about the weather, "Is there anything to eat?" The owner looks toward the fire. There's a pot there now. There wasn't always a pot. At some point it appeared, and no one remembers when. Inside it, something thick moves slowly. Or maybe it doesn't move at all anymore. It smells acceptable. Food like this isn't meant to be identified. It's meant to exist. A ladle is found. Not the right one, but close enough. Bowls appear. Some are chipped. Some are borrowed. Some belong to no one in particular. The food is poured unevenly. No one complains. Complaints require comparison, and comparison requires standards. Standards are dangerous in places like this. The first spoonful is always cautious. The second is hopeful. The third is resignation. It's hot enough to warm the hands. That's already a success. Someone eats too fast and regrets it quietly. Someone else eats slowly, savoring nothing in particular. The pot empties faster than expected. This is how menus are born, by surprise. The next night, the pot is fuller, more water, more grain, less certainty. Still, people ask again. The question becomes routine, so the answer does too. Bread appears on the table, not fresh, but solid. Cheese, sometimes, on good days. No one writes down what's served, but people remember. This place has food. That sentence spreads. Soon, people arrive already hungry, which feels like pressure. The owner starts planning meals without admitting it. They buy extra grain. They save bones. Saving bones feels strange at first. Then it feels necessary. The fire burns longer now, not brighter, just longer. That has consequences. Smoke thickens. Walls darken. Ceilings learn new colors. The tavern starts remembering its own past. Someone complains about the smoke. Someone else says it's always been like this. It hasn't, but it will be. A traveller arrives with a horse. The horse is more work than the traveller. Where does it go? Outside, tied poorly. Then better. A rail is added. Not officially, just a piece of wood that stays where it's put. That rail will still be there years later. Manure becomes part of the landscape, not pleasant, but familiar. A boy is paid to shovel it, paid badly. He does it anyway. Now the place accommodates animals. No one asked if it wanted to. Someone else arrives with another horse, then another. The ground outside turns soft, then ruined. Inside, people complain about the smell. Outside, people complain about the mud. Both complaints are ignored. Ignoring things is how stability is achieved. A fight almost happens one night. Almost is important. It starts with a look, then a word. Someone says, "Enough." Not loudly, just firmly. The fight dissolves. This moment will be remembered more than actual violence. Later, there will be real fights, messy ones. But for now, restraint wins. That restraint becomes part of the tavern's reputation. This place is calm until it isn't. Dice return, more openly now. Coins stack, then disappear. Someone accuses someone else of cheating. No proof. The accusation hangs in the air, heavy. Then the fire crackles, and the moment passes. Passing moments pile up. They become atmosphere. The owner notices people lingering, even after their cups are empty. Empty cups should mean leaving. They don't. The owner considers asking them to go, then doesn't. Silence is easier. The door stays open later, not because of generosity, because closing it would be awkward. Awkwardness is expensive. Outside, the town adjusts. People walk this way more often. Someone sells something nearby because people are here anyway. A pattern forms. Authorities notice patterns. Eventually, they always do. A rule is mentioned, then enforced loosely. A fine is paid once, then avoided creatively. The fire is dimmed again. Cups are cleared faster. No one says why. People understand without explanation. Understanding without words is a tavern skill. A sign outside becomes clearer, more intentional. Someone paints it poorly, but everyone knows what it means. This is the place. The name solidifies. People stop describing it and start naming it. Names make things heavier. The owner feels that weight now. Responsibility has arrived quietly. They lock the door at night. That's new. Keys exist. Rules are forming. Someone is turned away one evening. Not harshly, just firmly. The turned away person remembers this. Reputation grows from moments like that. Inside, the benches are fuller. The weak bench finally breaks completely. No one mourns it. It's replaced with something sturdier. Sturdy things invite more use. More use invites more wear. Wear invites repair. Repair invites permanence. And permanence is never announced. It just settles in. The tavern is no longer pretending it's temporary, but it still refuses to admit what it is. It opens, it closes, it feeds, it listens, it absorbs stories and spills and smoke, and night after night, people keep coming back, not because it's perfect, because it's there, and that somehow is still enough. It doesn't change all at once. That would be obvious. Instead, it arrives as a feeling, a pause that lasts a little too long, a glance that lingers, a voice that lowers when it shouldn't have to. Someone mentions rules again, not angrily, almost apologetically. I heard they were asking questions. No one asks who they are. Everyone knows. Questions are heavier than accusations. The owner listens without responding. They've been listening more lately. Listening becomes a habit. When talking feels risky, the door opens. And for a moment, everyone checks who it is. Just a man. Just another coat. Just another face. The room exhales. That reaction is noticed. The fire burns the same, but people sit a little straighter. Someone finishes their drink faster than usual. Someone else doesn't order another. This isn't fear. It's awareness. Awareness spreads quietly. A cup breaks. The sound is sharper than it should be. Everyone looks. Too many eyes for such a small noise. Someone laughs to fix it. The laugh doesn't quite work. The dice stay in a pocket tonight. No one suggests a game. That absence is louder than the games ever were. The authority figure hasn't arrived yet, which somehow makes it worse. Waiting is more exhausting than confrontation. The owner counts cups without moving their lips. They count people the same way. Counting is new. Counting means something might be taken away. A voice near the wall says, "They closed a place like this last winter." No details. Details would make it real. Someone else says, "That was different." Different how? No one explains. Explanations invite disagreement. Disagreement invites attention. The door opens again. This time, it is someone official, not aggressive, not friendly, neutral. Neutral is the most dangerous expression in a room like this. He orders a drink. The owner pours carefully, more carefully than ever before. The measure is exact, painfully exact. The official drinks slowly, looks around. He doesn't smile. He doesn't frown either. He asks a question that sounds harmless. "How late do you stay open?" The owner answers honestly. That honesty feels like a gamble. The official nods. Nods are unreadable. He pays, leaves. The door closes. No one speaks for a long moment. Then someone says something meaningless about the weather or the road. Conversation resumes, but it's thinner now, like the drink. People stay anyway. Staying becomes an act. The fire keeps burning because putting it out would feel like surrender. Outside, footsteps pass. Inside, shoulders tighten. This is how taverns learn fear. Not through punishment, through anticipation. Anticipation settles in the walls, right next to the smoke. And still, people return the next night. Because now, leaving would mean admitting this place mattered. And it does. It doesn't start with shouting. That's important. Real trouble almost never does. It starts with waiting. Too much waiting. The room is full in that way. That isn't loud yet. People are there, but they're not relaxed. They're sitting closer than they want to, standing when they'd rather sit. Someone bumps into someone else. Not hard, barely enough to register. Normally, there would be a nod, a muttered apology, a shared understanding that space is limited and patience is expected. Tonight, there isn't. The bumped man pauses, just a fraction too long. He looks down at his cup. Some of it is gone now. Not much, but enough to notice. He says nothing at first. Silence stretches. The other man doesn't apologize. Not because he's cruel, because he's distracted. Because his mind is already elsewhere. That matters more than intention. The first man clears his throat. Watch it. Not angry. Not yet. Just. Recorded. The second man turns. Looks. He smiles. But it's the wrong kind. A smile that arrives late. "I barely touched you." That word barely lands badly. It suggests judgment. It suggests exaggeration. The room leans inward. No one moves. But everyone is closer. Someone near the fire shifts their weight, as if preparing for something that might not happen. The owner notices. They always notice first. They think about intervening. Then they don't. Intervening too early can cause its own problems. The first man picks up his cup, looks inside. He swirls what's left. "Still," he says, quietly. That's all. Still. The word hangs there, unhelpful and vague. The second man laughs, not loudly, but carelessly. Careless laughter is flammable. You want another, he says, gesturing vaguely. The offer isn't sincere. Everyone hears that. The first man stands, not fast, slowly. That slowness is deliberate. It says, I'm not drunk. I'm choosing this. Someone whispers, enough. It's ignored. Someone else reaches out, then pulls their hand back. The fire pops. A spark jumps. The second man's smile fades. You're standing too close, he says. The irony is thick. Space has been gone all night. Only now does it matter. The first man takes one step closer, not into striking distance, just close enough to be undeniable. I was here first. That sentence is absurd. Everyone knows it, but it isn't about truth. It's about ownership. Ownership of space, of dignity, of the last few quiet weeks. Before things started tightening, the second man pushes him. Not hard, hard enough. The bench behind the first man shifts, almost tips. That's the moment, not the push, the near fall. Balance is sacred in crowded rooms. Someone grabs the first man's arm. Someone else grabs the second. Too late. A cup hits the floor. It doesn't break, but it sounds like it should have. Sound matters more than damage. Voices rise. Not words yet, just noise. The owner steps forward now. Enough, they say. Louder than before. Authority borrowed, not owned. The second man pulls free, swings wide. He doesn't hit who he means to. He hits someone else. That's when the room explodes. Not all at once, in pieces. A chair goes over. Someone shouts a name. Someone curses. The fire. The fire is kicked accidentally. Ash spreads. Heat shifts. The first punch lands awkwardly. More surprise than power. The second is angrier. Someone falls. Someone else slips. The straw near the wall scatters. Sleep is forgotten. The owner shouts again. This time it cracks. The authority figure is not here tonight. That makes it worse. People hesitate, then choose sides, or pretend not to. Hands grab collars, sleeves tear. A table tips and stays tipped. The fight is messy, unimpressive. No skill, no glory. Just pressure released badly. Then someone screams. Not in pain, in alarm. That sound cuts through everything. It reminds everyone where they are. The fire, the wood, the rules that are waiting outside. The fight slows, not stops, slows. Breathing gets louder. Someone bleeds from the lip. Someone else wipes their hands on their cloak, as if embarrassed. The owner finally reaches the center. They don't shout this time. They say one name, just one. The man freezes. Names have power when spoken publicly. Another name follows. Then another. The room exhales again. The fight collapses in on itself. Like a tent with the ropes cut. People step back, straighten clothes, avoid eye contact. No one wins. That's important too. The door opens. Cold air rushes in. Someone leaves without paying. No one stops them. Someone else pays too much. To compensate, the fire is smaller now. Not intentionally, it's just tired. The owner looks at the mess. The tipped table, the scattered straw. They say nothing. Tomorrow will hurt. Tomorrow will require explanations. Tonight, the tavern survives. Barely. People sit again, further apart. Conversation returns in fragments. Broken. Careful. Someone says, "That didn't used to happen here." No one answers, because everyone knows it did. It just hadn't yet. And now that it has, it will again. Not often, not predictably, but enough to change the way people enter the room. Enough to change the way they stay. The tavern doesn't close early. It stays open. Defiant, tired, alive, and somewhere between the ash and the silence, it learns something new about itself. Something it will never quite forget. The morning after doesn't arrive gently. It never does. The door is opened earlier than usual. Not for customers, for air. Smoke still hangs in the room. Stale now, like a thought that stayed too long. The owner steps inside and stops. They don't sigh. They don't swear. They just stand there, looking at the table that never got put back, the bench that's cracked again, the straw that's been kicked into corners where it doesn't belong. The tavern looks embarrassed. Places can look embarrassed. People rarely notice, but owners always do. There's a smear on the wall, not blood. Something darker than drink, lighter than ash. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it's there. Cleaning begins. Not thoroughly. Thorough takes time. This is about erasing evidence, not restoring dignity. A bucket of water is dragged in. It sloshes. Some spills. The spill is ignored. Certain messes are acceptable now. Others aren't. That distinction is new. The door opens again. Someone steps in, then hesitates. They were expecting warmth, noise, life. Instead, they get quiet. Too early? They ask. The owner shakes their head. No, that's a lie, but a useful one. The man looks around. Rough night? The owner shrugs. Shrugs are safer than answers. By midday, the story has already changed. It's told outside the tavern first, at the well, near the market stalls. Each version is slightly cleaner than the last. In one, it was just words. In another, someone deserved it. In a third, the owner handled it well. No one agrees on the details. Everyone agrees it was bad. By the time people return that evening, they don't come empty-handed. Not physically, mentally. They bring caution with them. They sit differently. They choose seats with more space. They keep one eye on the door. The fire feels smaller, even when it isn't. Someone asks quietly, "Are they coming back?" No one asks who they are. The owner pours drinks carefully again. Exact measures. No generosity tonight. Generosity attracts attention. A man who used to laugh loudly keeps his voice low. A woman who used to sit near the wall chooses a chair closer to the center. Visibility becomes currency. The dice do not appear. They aren't banned. They're just remembered. A broken cup is found under the bench. It didn't break during the fight. It broke later. That somehow feels worse. Someone picks it up, turns it over in their hands, then sets it aside. It won't be used again. Objects, like people, can lose trust. The authority figure returns 2 nights later, not alone, still not aggressive, still not friendly. They don't mention the fight. That silence confirms everything. They look at the room differently now, not as a place to drink, as a place that needs watching. They ask about closing times again, about who sleeps here, about how many nights a week. Questions stack up like unpaid debts. The owner answers carefully, truth trimmed at the edges. The authority figure nods again. That nod is heavier this time. After they leave, no one speaks for a while. Someone finally says, "They'll fine you." The owner nods. Yes. Not if. When. That word settles into the room. People still come. That's important. They don't abandon the place. They just adjust. They drink faster. They leave earlier. They don't linger the way they used to. Lingering now feels like a risk. Someone who used to sleep by the wall doesn't ask tonight. They stand awkwardly instead. The owner notices. They hesitate. Then they nod. The sleeper returns to the corner, but they sleep lighter. Everyone does. The tavern hasn't lost its purpose. It's gained a second one. Survival. The fight becomes a reference point. Before, after. Conversations start this way now. Before the trouble. After things changed. Change is never announced. It's measured backward. A week passes. No new fights. That feels like relief. But relief is temporary too. Someone tests the room one night. Laughs a little too loudly. Stays a little too long. Nothing happens. The next night, someone else tries. Still nothing. The tension loosens. Just a little. That's when people make mistakes. A chair scrapes loudly. A joke lands wrong. Eyes flick toward the door again. Nothing. The tavern breathes. It has learned a new rhythm now. Not the careless one from before. Not the fearful one right after. Something tighter, more controlled, less generous, but still alive. The owner locks the door more often. Not every night. Just enough to remind people they can. That power feels strange in their hand. They didn't ask for it. It arrived anyway. Some nights they think about closing for good. Then someone knocks. Not loudly. Just enough. Hope again. They open the door. Inside, the fire catches. People settle. The tavern holds. It always does. Not because it's strong, because it knows how to bend. And bending in places like this is the only way anything lasts. At first, people notice it every time. The way the door opens. The way heads turn just a little too quickly. The way conversation pauses for half a breath longer than it used to. That half breath is new. It lives between words now. Someone enters late and apologizes without being asked. Someone else moves their cup closer to their body, instinctively. No one explains why. Explanation would mean admitting something has changed, and change is still being negotiated. The fire burns the same way it always has. It doesn't know anything about danger. It just eats wood and gives heat. People trust the fire more than they trust each other now. They sit where they can see the door. Not consciously, just naturally. Someone who used to lean back now leans forward. Someone who used to sprawl keeps their elbows in. Bodies learn before minds do. The first laugh comes carefully. A test. It's quiet, dry. It lands, but doesn't spread. The second laugh is louder. Someone else joins. Nothing happens. That matters. The room loosens, just a fraction. The owner notices this too. They always do. They pour with a steadier hand tonight. Not generous, but not tight either. A middle ground. Middle grounds feel safe. Someone mentions the fight again, but only as a joke. Careful, they say, smiling, or you'll end up famous. Famous here doesn't mean admired. It means remembered. Everyone chuckles. That chuckle seals something. The danger hasn't gone away. It's been renamed. Renamed danger is easier to live with. Dice come back one night, not announced. They're placed gently on the table as if they've always been there. No one objects. The game is quieter now. Coins are stacked neatly. Hands move slower. Even cheating has become polite. Someone loses. They accept it. Acceptance feels like progress. The authority figure doesn't return for a while. That absence becomes comforting, too comforting. People start staying longer again, not as long as before, but longer than after. Someone falls asleep near the wall. No straw this time, just exhaustion. No one wakes them. Sleeping here has always been the final test. If someone can sleep, the room must be doing something right. The owner locks the door later than usual, not because they forgot, because it didn't feel necessary yet. That decision is made without thinking, and that's how risk sneaks back in. A chair scrapes loudly. Someone flinches. They laugh it off immediately. That still gets me, someone says. Everyone agrees. Agreement creates solidarity. Solidarity blunts fear. The tavern feels almost like it did before. Almost. There's still a pause when voices rise. Still a glance when someone stands too quickly. But now those moments pass. They don't freeze the room anymore. They ripple instead. People are learning the shape of danger, its size, its habits. They know now what it sounds like. Before it happens, they know when to step back, when to look away, when to speak. That knowledge makes them braver, or maybe just more careless. It's hard to tell the difference at night. The owner hears more stories now. Stories told softly, then louder. Stories about other places closing. Other rooms going quiet forever. Each story ends the same way. Not here, though. That phrase becomes protective, like knocking on wood. The tavern starts to believe it. Belief is dangerous. It invites repetition. A small argument breaks out one evening, small enough to ignore. So it is. Ignored things tend to grow, but tonight it doesn't. Someone interrupts with a joke. Someone else buys around. The argument dissolves. This feels like victory, but it's only practice. The owner wipes the table slowly, watching hands, faces, posture. They've become a reader of rooms now. They didn't want this skill. They have it anyway. The tavern has entered a new phase. Not safe, not unsafe, familiar danger. The kind you learn to step around in the dark. People come here knowing something might happen. That knowledge doesn't push them away. It pulls them in, because places without risk feel empty. Because comfort without tension gets boring. And boredom is the real enemy of rooms like this. So they return, night after night. They drink, they watch, they listen, they laugh carefully, they stay. And the tavern stays with them, not as shelter anymore, as a place where things could go wrong. And somehow that's exactly why no one wants to leave. At first, no one notices it happening. That's the important part. If they did, it wouldn't work. It begins as coincidence. The same face, 2 nights in a row, sitting near the wall, not drinking much, listening more than speaking. Someone assumes they're tired. Someone else assumes they're shy. Assumptions are comforting. They stop questions from forming. The third night, the face is still there. Same seat, same posture. Someone jokes about it quietly. He must like the view. No one laughs very hard. The owner notices before anyone else. Owners always do. They don't stare. They don't ask questions. They just adjust. They pour drinks a little slower. They avoid certain topics without realizing it. They don't let laughter climb too high. None of this is conscious. It's instinct. The room begins to feel observed, not watched. Observed. Watched implies intent. Observed implies record. Someone tells a story they've told before. Halfway through, they change the ending. They don't know why. Someone else catches themselves lowering their voice, then raises it again, annoyed at themselves. That annoyance passes. The habit remains. A second unfamiliar face appears one evening. Different coat, same stillness. They don't sit together. That would be obvious. Obvious things draw attention. Instead, they're placed like furniture, separate, quiet, unmoving. Someone tries to remember if they've seen them before. Memory fails. Failure feels unsettling. The dice don't come out that night. No one says anything about it. They simply don't. A man starts a story about a local official. Stops. Laughs. Never mind. Everyone understands. Understanding arrives faster now. The tavern hasn't been told it's being watched, but it knows. Places know. They feel it in the way people shift, in the way jokes soften, in the way anger evaporates before it can land. Someone spills a drink. No one reacts. That's new. Spills used to invite comments. Now they invite silence. Silence is safer. The owner hears footsteps outside more clearly now. Every footstep sounds like intention. Sometimes it's just someone passing by. Sometimes it isn't. The difference is subtle and often wrong. But guessing becomes part of the night. The authority figure returns. Not alone. Never alone now. They don't ask questions anymore. They sit, they drink, they listen. Listening is heavier than questioning. People perform normalcy. They talk about the road, the weather, the price of grain. They avoid anything that requires opinion. Opinions have edges. Edges cut. A laugh goes on too long. The authority figure looks up. The laugh ends immediately. No one comments. The fire crackles. The fire doesn't care. That indifference is almost offensive. Someone leans close to another and whispers. The whisper stops halfway through. They straighten, smile. Smiles are useful. The tavern has learned a new language. Not words. Gestures, pauses, timing. Who speaks after whom? Who speaks at all? The owner notices fewer arguments now. Fewer confessions. Fewer risks. On paper, this looks like success. In reality, it feels thin, like soup that's been watered one too many times. Still warm, still edible, but missing something. People stay shorter hours again. Not out of fear, out of fatigue. Being careful is exhausting. Someone says, one night, it used to be louder, not accusing, just remembering. The owner nods. Yes, that word carries weight now. Agreement feels like documentation. The unfamiliar faces rotate. New ones arrive. Old ones disappear. The pattern remains. Observation has become routine. Routine becomes invisible. That's when it's most effective. A small argument breaks out near the door. Voices rise. One of the observers stands. Not quickly, just stands. The argument ends immediately. No resolution, no apology, just disappearance. The observer sits again. The room exhales. That moment will be remembered, not as a threat, as a lesson. From then on, no one waits for intervention. They intervene themselves. They smooth things over. They buy drinks. They redirect conversations. Order becomes communal. This feels empowering. It isn't. It's outsourcing control. The tavern still fills each night, still warms, still feeds, but it no longer forgets. Nothing said here truly disappears anymore. People sense that. They speak accordingly. Some stop coming. Others come more often. Those others enjoy the edge, the sense that something is always listening. It makes the room feel important, relevant, dangerous in a quiet way, and relevance is addictive. The owner locks up late one night, later than planned. They stand alone in the room. Look at the benches, the fire, the door. They realize something. This place no longer belongs just to the people inside it. It belongs to whoever is watching. And tomorrow night, the door will open again. Because even under watchful eyes, people still need somewhere to go. Somewhere warm, somewhere imperfect, somewhere that remembers them, even when they wish it wouldn't. At first, adaptation looks like politeness. People say please more often. They say sorry even when nothing has happened. They smile before being spoken to. It feels civilized. It isn't. It's defensive. Someone learns where to sit. so they won't be overheard, not hidden, just less exposed. Another learns which nights are quieter, which nights draw certain faces. Patterns appear, patterns always appear. A man who used to tell long stories now tells shorter ones. He gets to the point faster, then stops. Someone else finishes the story for him, but changes a detail. They exchange a look. Agreement without words. Again, the tavern hasn't become silent. It's become edited. Conversations are trimmed like hedges. Nothing wild allowed to grow. People laugh at safer moments. They clap backs instead of slapping shoulders. Touch changes. Distance becomes respectful, or at least useful. The owner adjusts too. They stop asking questions. They stop offering opinions. They become excellent at being neutral. Neutrality is a skill now. When someone complains, the owner listens carefully and says nothing that could be repeated. That silence becomes reassuring. This place is careful. People start saying, careful sounds like praise. It isn't. Someone starts arriving earlier than usual, not to drink, to watch. They choose a seat with their back to the wall. They face the room. They don't interact much. Eventually, someone sits near them, not to talk, just to share the space. Sharing space feels safer than sharing words. The observers change too. They stop pretending to be invisible. They relax. They lean back. They drink more. They laugh sometimes. That's worse. Laughter blurs lines. When the watchers laugh, people don't know what's allowed anymore. Uncertainty replaces fear. Uncertainty is heavier. A joke lands. Everyone laughs. One of the observers laughs too. The laughter dies instantly. No one planned that reaction. It just happens. After that, jokes become blander, harmless, about the weather, about sore feet, about nothing. Nothing becomes popular. The dice return again, eventually. But the rules change. No shouting, no crowding, no disputes. Anyone who gets loud is corrected immediately, not by force, by looks. Looks are enough now. Someone new enters the tavern one night. They're loud, unaware. They speak freely, laugh too much. The room tightens. Someone gently interrupts them. Maybe not here. Not angry, helpful. The newcomer laughs it off, keeps talking. The owner catches their eye, shakes their head once. The newcomer quiets. Later, they'll ask why. Later, someone will explain. Explanations spread faster than rules. The tavern has created its own code. Not written, not spoken, understood. People who learn it stay. People who don't leave. No one is forced out. They just feel uncomfortable. Discomfort is an efficient filter. The fire still burns. The food still arrives. But even the meals have changed. People eat faster, less talking. Eating becomes practical again. Pleasure feels risky. A man who used to sleep by the wall now sleeps sitting up, boots on, eyes half open. Sleeping deeply feels irresponsible. Dreaming here would be foolish. Someone mentions closing time. not as a rule. As a suggestion, people begin to leave around the same hour, not because they're told to, because it feels right. The tavern empties more cleanly now. No lingering bodies. No late-night secrets. That bothers some people. They miss the old mess. They miss the feeling that things could spill over. But they don't say that out loud. Saying that would sound suspicious. The owner counts coins at the end of the night. There are fewer, but fewer problems too. That trade-off feels intentional, even though no one chose it. The tavern has adapted. It hasn't resisted. It hasn't collapsed. It has narrowed itself, like a path worn through tall grass. Easier to follow, harder to leave. People still come because they know what to expect. Predictability is comforting, even when it costs something. Someone says one night, "This place has changed." Another replies, "Everything does." They drink. The moment passes. Outside, the town continues. Inside, the tavern survives. Not wild anymore. Not free, but functional. And for now, that's enough. At first, no one notices what's missing. That's how loss usually works here. Nothing disappears all at once. Nothing dramatic. No final night. No farewell. Just less. The room fills, but not the same way. There are people, but fewer pauses between them. Fewer moments where someone starts speaking and everyone else leans in without realizing it. That leaning in is gone. Conversation happens now in smaller shapes, shorter bursts, contained. Stories still get told, but they don't wander anymore. They arrive, deliver their point, and sit down. No one interrupts to add a memory. No one corrects a detail. Details feel risky. Someone laughs at something genuinely funny. The laugh surprises them. They stop laughing first. That surprises everyone else. Silence follows, but not the comfortable kind. The kind that asks, quietly, "Was that too much?" The fire burns steadily, better than it ever has. It's fed on time now, watched, maintained. That should feel like improvement. Instead, it feels managed. Someone who used to arrive with nothing now arrives, drinks, and leaves. They don't linger by the door. They don't look around to see who's still there. Lingering used to mean belonging. Now it feels like exposure. The owner notices a strange thing. People don't forget things here anymore. Not cups, not cloaks, not words. Everything that happens feels held, recorded somewhere invisible. The floor still has stains, but no new ones. The benches still creak, but no one rocks back and forth on them. Rocking draws attention. A man who once told stories that went nowhere doesn't come anymore. No one comments on his absence. Someone else fills his seat. The seat doesn't notice. That's another loss. The tavern used to remember people. Now it remembers patterns. Patterns are easier to manage. Someone mentions a time, vaguely. Do you remember when they stop? Not because they forgot, because they're not sure who's listening. Memory becomes selective. Selective memory becomes habit. Habit becomes silence. The dice sit untouched on a shelf now. Not forbidden, just uninvited. Games require trust. Trust requires forgetting. Forgetting is dangerous here. Food still arrives, but it's eaten with purpose. No one talks with a full mouth anymore. No one wipes their hands on the table. Small, careless acts have vanished. Carelessness used to mean comfort. Now comfort has been replaced with control. Someone falls asleep one night, head slumped forward. They jerk awake immediately, embarrassed. No one laughs. Laughter would acknowledge vulnerability. Vulnerability has become rare. The owner locks the door and pauses, key in hand. They try to remember when the place felt lighter, not quieter, lighter. They can't pinpoint it. That's the worst part. Loss without a moment. Loss without a story. The tavern still functions perfectly. Better, even. No fights. No shouting. No surprises. But something essential has thinned out. Like air at altitude. People breathe fine at first. Then one day they realize they're tired. Not tired of walking. Tired of holding themselves. Someone says, one evening, almost to themselves, this used to feel different. No one asks how, because asking would require agreement. Agreement would require memory, and memory has become complicated. The tavern listens. It always does. It hears what isn't said now, more clearly than what is. The fire burns. The door opens. The room fills. Everything necessary remains. Only the unnecessary has gone, and no one is brave enough to say that the unnecessary was the whole point. So they sit, they drink, they adapt again, because places like this don't die from violence. They fade slowly, politely, while everyone is still inside. It happens on an ordinary night. That's important. No storm, no festival, no reason for the room to behave differently. The fire burns as expected. The door opens when it should. People arrive with the same careful posture they've learned. Someone new steps inside. Not new, just unfamiliar. They hesitate at the door longer than most people do now. That hesitation feels old. They look around, not searching for faces, but for something harder to name. They smile at the owner, not politely, not carefully, naturally. The owner pauses. Just a fraction. They recognize that smile, even if they don't recognize the face. The newcomer orders a drink and waits. They don't hover. They don't watch the room. They trust it. That trust lands awkwardly. The cup is handed over. The newcomer takes a sip and makes a face. Not angry, not offended, just honest. This tastes different, they say. The room tightens, not because of the comment, because of the tone. There's no caution in it, no testing, just observation. The owner opens their mouth to respond carefully, stops, then shrugs. It changes, they say. The newcomer nods. Yeah, they say. It always did. That sentence moves through the room like a draft. Always did. Someone nearby lets out a small laugh. They don't stop themselves in time. The laugh is real, short, unfiltered. Everyone looks. The newcomer grins. Sorry, they say. I just remembered something. A remembered. The word hasn't been used like that here in a while. They sit, not choosing a strategic seat, not watching the door. They sit where there's space and take it for granted. That's the mistake, and also the gift. They tell a story, not loudly, not dramatically. It wanders. It starts somewhere irrelevant and takes its time getting nowhere. They forget a detail, correct themselves. Someone else corrects them incorrectly. They laugh. They don't apologize for laughing. The story stretches longer than it should. No one interrupts. No one redirects. For a moment, the room forgets to manage itself. Someone leans back. Someone rocks a bench without realizing it. The fire pops loudly. No one flinches. That's new. Or old. It's hard to tell. An observer near the wall shifts. The newcomer notices, meets their eyes, doesn't look away, just nods. The observer looks back at their cup. That nod is subtle, but it changes the temperature of the room. The dice appear, not placed carefully, dropped. They roll across the table and hit the edge with a sharp sound. The sound is wrong, too bold, too familiar. Silence follows. The newcomer looks around. Oh, they say. Sorry. Habit. Habit. That word again. Someone says, quietly. It's fine. No one knows who said it. The game begins. Not properly, not loudly, but it begins. Coins move. Hands relax. Someone loses and curses softly, then laughs. The laugh stays. It doesn't get swallowed. The owner watches all of this with something tightening in their chest. Not fear, recognition. This is what it used to feel like before it learned to protect itself too well. The night doesn't spiral. That's important too. No fight, no shouting, no knock at the door. Just looseness. Carelessness returns in pieces. Someone wipes their hands on the table. Someone forgets a cup. The observer doesn't intervene. They don't leave either. They watch. And for the first time in a long while, they don't look entirely comfortable. The newcomer finishes their drink, orders another, pays without counting. They stay longer than they should, long enough to remind the room that time used to stretch here. When they finally leave, the door closes softly behind them. No one speaks for a moment. Then someone says, I forgot about that. No one asks what. They don't need to. The fire burns lower now. Not tired. Satisfied. The room settles back into itself. Not the old self. Not the careful one. Something in between. The owner locks the door later that night. They stand alone again. But this time, they remember. Not clearly. Not fully. Just enough to feel the absence. As something named tomorrow. The watchers will return. The rules will still exist. Nothing has been undone. But the room has been reminded. And reminders are dangerous. Because once you remember what a place was, you start noticing what it no longer is. And sometimes that's enough to keep people coming back just to see if it might happen again. At first, it's only mentioned by accident. Someone laughs softly at something small, then stops themselves. Not like that night, they say. They don't explain which night. They don't need to. A few people smile. One person nods. That's enough. The memory has found its shape. It doesn't come back as an event. It comes back as comparison. This is quieter than it used to be. Yeah, but not like before. Remember? Remember becomes a shared word, not a request, a signal. If you remember, you belong. If you don't, you listen. Newcomers notice this quickly. They hear fragments, half sentences, pauses that feel intentional. They learn not to ask too many questions. Questions slow things down. Memory prefers to move freely. The owner hears it too. They pretend not to, but every time someone says, like that night, their hands pause for just a moment, not long enough to draw attention, long enough to feel it. The room starts measuring itself against the memory. Laughter gets compared to it. Silence, too. That's close, someone says once, smiling. Almost. Almost becomes comforting, because almost means possible. The dice never come out the same way again. But when someone reaches for them, they hesitate. Careful, someone jokes. Don't wake it up. Laughter follows. Soft, fond. The memory is no longer dangerous. It's been domesticated. It sits in the corner of the room now, like an old piece of furniture no one remembers bringing in. Sometimes someone touches it without realizing. A story runs too long. Someone interrupts mid-sentence, laughing. Sorry. Got carried away, like that night. Heads nod. No one corrects them. Correction would pin the memory down. Pinned memories lose warmth. The watchers hear it too. That's important. They don't react. They don't need to. A memory that stays a memory is harmless, as long as it doesn't repeat. The room understands this instinctively. People let the memory live, but they don't invite it to sit again. They talk about it the way people talk about weather from years ago. You remember how cold it got? Yeah. Strange winter. The memory becomes weather. Uncontrollable. Unrepeatable. Shared. Someone who wasn't there finally asks, what happened that night? The question lands gently. Someone answers, oh, nothing, really. That answer is true. And not. Nothing happened that could be written down. But something shifted. That's harder to explain. So they don't. The newcomer nods, pretending to understand. They will, eventually. Not through explanation, through repetition, through hearing it again and again until the words carry weight without meaning. The owner starts using it too, not directly. When things get tense, they say, let's not turn this into, you know. Everyone does. The memory has become a boundary, a soft one, flexible, effective. No rule ever worked this well. The fire burns low. Someone adds wood without asking. No one comments. That used to happen all the time. Someone notices. They smile. The tavern hasn't gone back. It hasn't moved forward either. It has found a place to stand, balanced between what it was and what it learned to be. The memory keeps it honest, keeps it human, keeps it imperfect. Some nights, someone hopes it might happen again. They don't say that out loud. Hoping out loud would turn it into pressure. Pressure ruins memories, so they let it stay where it belongs. In glances, in jokes, in unfinished sentences, and every night when the door opens and someone steps inside for the first time, they feel it, not knowing what it is, just knowing this place remembers something, and that's usually enough to make them stay a little longer than they planned. It's the cups first, not all of them, just one. The one with the crack near the rim. It doesn't leak, not really, but when you drink from it, you have to tilt it slightly differently. People learn that without being told. Someone reaches for it automatically. Someone else avoids it. No one remembers when it cracked. It's always been like that. The owner keeps it anyway, not out of sentiment, out of habit. Habit is heavier than preference. A spoon goes missing, not stolen, just gone. The next night, there's another spoon, not the same weight, not the same balance. People notice. No one mentions it. They adjust the way they eat. Adjustment becomes invisible after the first few tries. The bench near the wall creaks louder now. It always did, probably. But now the sound means something. When it creaks, people glance up, not in fear, in recognition. Someone is sitting down. Someone is shifting. Sound has become information. The fire needs more tending lately. Not because it's colder, because people notice when it drops. Someone adds wood without asking. Another straightens it. Coordination without conversation. That used to be rare. Now it's constant. A knot in the doorframe catches cloaks, just slightly. People learn to turn sideways when they enter. Someone new doesn't. Their cloak snags. They curse softly. Someone smiles. Gets everyone. That sentence makes them feel included. The knot stays. Fixing it would erase a shared experience. The door opens and closes differently now, more gently, less swinging. Someone once slammed it during a storm. It rattled everything. No one forgot. Now the door is treated carefully, like it might remember. The floor near the fire is smoother, worn down by boots, by pacing, by people standing too long. Someone slips, just a little. They recover. No one laughs. They ask if they're all right. That question is new. The air smells different at certain hours. Not cleaner, more predictable. People notice when it doesn't smell right. Did you burn something? The owner shrugs. Probably. Probably is an acceptable answer. Certainty is suspicious. A bowl gets set aside each night now. The same one. For scraps. No one remembers starting this. But it happens. Scraps get collected, taken somewhere else. Order creeping in again. Someone hums, not singing, just sound. They stop when they notice, then keep going. The hum finds a rhythm. Someone taps a finger on the table. It's almost music. Almost. No one comments. Commentary would make it intentional. Intentional things invite rules. The candle near the corner burns unevenly. It always leans. Someone straightens it. Someone else straightens it back. the way it was. Leaning has become correct. The owner lets it happen. Correctness is negotiable now. A regular arrives late, later than usual. People notice. They ask if everything's all right. He nods. Just delayed. Delayed is enough of a story. Stories don't need detail anymore. The tavern fills, empties, fills again. Not dramatically, reliably. Someone leaves a coin behind. On purpose. Not payment. Just presence. The owner finds it later. They don't pocket it immediately. They leave it on the shelf. For a while, coins mean different things now. The memory is still there, but it doesn't lead the room anymore. It watches quietly, like the crack in the cup, like the knot in the doorframe, like the creak in the bench. Small things, persistent things. The tavern is held together by them now, not by laws, not by fear, not even by memory, by details that repeat, often enough to feel permanent. People don't come here for stories anymore. They come here because their hands know where the cup will be. Their feet know where the floor dips. Their ears recognize the room breathing. And that's enough. More than enough. The night continues. Unremarkable. Comfortable. Alive in small ways. And somewhere between a missing spoon and a cracked cup, the tavern does what it has always done best. It stays. The room notices hands. Before it notices faces. Hands tell the truth faster. Some hands arrive already knowing where to rest. They don't search for the table. They don't hesitate over the cup. They land. Other hands hover. They test the surface first. They tap. They pull back. The tavern can tell who has been here before. Just by the way fingers curl around clay. The cracked cup changes owners again. It always does. Tonight it's taken by someone who doesn't mind the tilt. They adjust without thinking. That adjustment feels like belonging. The bench creaks in its familiar way. But tonight, someone shifts their weight carefully, anticipating the sound. The creak still happens. Softer. The bench seems satisfied. The knot in the doorframe catches another cloak. This time, the person laughs immediately. They don't curse. They don't tug angrily. They already know. Knowing changes the mood of mistakes. The candle leans again. It's corrected halfway, then left alone. Someone decides the lean is fine. Fine has become a popular standard. The floor dip near the fire causes another small stumble. This time, two people reach out at once. Their hands touch briefly. They pull back. No embarrassment. That would have mattered once. Now, it's just coordination. The room feels practiced, not rehearsed. Practiced, like a body that knows its limits. Then the door opens, and someone very ordinary steps inside. No pause, no hesitation. Just a person who needed to be somewhere and chose this place because it was closest. They don't look around. They don't assess. They walk in like they're late. They order without softening their voice. Not loud. Just normal. Normal sounds strange here for a moment. They drink quickly, not greedily, efficiently. They keep their cloak on. They don't plan to stay long. Someone else arrives behind them. Another ordinary figure. Mud on boots. tired shoulders. They nod at no one in particular and receive nods back. That exchange takes less than a second. It says, "I see you. I won't bother you." A woman comes in, carrying nothing. No basket, no bag. That means she's local. She sits, drinks half a cup, then stops, listens, not to people, to the room. She decides it's fine. She finishes the drink. A man arrives, just to warm his hands. He doesn't order immediately. He stands near the fire, rubs his palms together, then leaves. No one comments. That's a full visit. Another person enters, counts coins silently, orders the cheapest thing without asking what it is. They accept whatever arrives. They don't complain. Complaining would require energy they don't have. Two people come in together and sit apart. They're not hiding. They're just used to space. One of them leaves first. The other waits 5 minutes before following. No one connects the two. Connection requires attention. Attention is tiring. A boy delivers a message. He doesn't read it. He doesn't need to. He hands it over and waits. The recipient nods. The boy leaves. He was never really here. An older man sits near the wall and says nothing all night. He drinks slowly. He watches the fire. He leaves a coin that's older than the others. That matters to someone. Not tonight. A woman steps in, looks around, realizes she's early. She sits anyway. Waiting here is acceptable. She waits until someone she knows arrives. They exchange a look, not relief. Confirmation. They talk quietly about nothing worth repeating. That's most conversations, really. The tavern fills with these moments. Not stories, not tension, just usage. People using the room the way it was meant to be used, before anyone decided what it was. No one stays late. No one leaves dramatically. The cracked cup goes back on the shelf. The spoon is still missing. The knot remains. The bench creaks one last time. The fire lowers itself. The room empties in a way that feels natural, like a breath let out. And if someone were to ask, what happened here tonight, there would be no answer. Nothing happened. And that's exactly why. Everyone will come back tomorrow. The next night doesn't feel new. That's the first thing. No one says it out loud, but everyone notices. The door opens the same way. The fire catches without complaint. The air smells almost identical. Almost matters. Someone arrives earlier than they meant to. They stop just inside the door, as if checking whether they're on time or not. Time here has softened. They sit anyway. The cracked cup is still on the shelf. Someone reaches for it, then changes their mind. They take a different one. That choice feels deliberate. The bench near the wall creaks again. The sound travels, then settles. No one looks up this time. That's new, or maybe that's old again. The owner paws, without counting in their head. They trust their hand tonight. Trust returns slowly. It never announces itself. Two people who didn't speak last night nod at each other now. Not friendship. Recognition. The fire dips. Someone adds wood without standing up. They do it with their foot. That small efficiency didn't exist before. A man comes in, just to ask a question. He doesn't stay for the answer. The answer will spread anyway. A woman orders food before she orders drink. That tells the room something. She plans to stay. The pot is already warm. It didn't have to be. The owner notices that too late. They smile briefly. The knot in the doorframe catches no one tonight. Everyone turns sideways without thinking. The knot has taught them. A laugh rises, then another joins it. Not the big laugh, not the careful one, something in between. It lasts longer than expected. No one stops it. The dice stay where they are, seen, ignored. That's a kind of respect. Someone mentions the road being worse tonight. Someone else disagrees. They don't argue. They compare. Comparison feels safe. A regular arrives late, later than usual. Someone asks where they were. Held up, they say. No explanation. That's accepted. Acceptance is easier now. The observer isn't here tonight. Or maybe they are, and no one notices. That's even worse. The room doesn't tighten. That matters. Someone leaves a cup on the table when they stand. They don't take it with them. That used to feel risky. Now it feels normal. The fire settles into itself. The sound changes. People recognize it. They don't comment. The tavern isn't waiting for something to happen tonight. That's the difference. It's just open, available, used. The night moves forward without marking itself. If someone tried to remember it tomorrow, they wouldn't be able to. And that's the point. This is how places last. Not by being remembered, but by being returned to. The decision to sleep is never announced. No one stands up and says, "I think I'll sleep here tonight." That would sound reckless. Instead, it happens quietly. A man stops reaching for his cup. A woman loosens her cloak, but doesn't take it off. Someone leans back and doesn't straighten again. The room notices before the people do. Sleep changes posture first. Heads tilt, shoulders drop, eyes stay open longer than they need to. No one wants to be the first to close them. The fire is lower now, not dying, just patient. It throws shadows that move slowly, as if even the light is tired. Someone chooses a spot near the wall, not because it's comfortable, because nothing can come from behind there. They sit, they wait. Waiting becomes part of sleeping here. Boots stay on, always. Even people who trust the room don't trust the floor. A cloak is folded once, used as a pillow. It doesn't work well. That's expected. Comfort would be suspicious. Someone stretches their legs and immediately pulls them back. Space is negotiated even in sleep. The bench near the fire fills differently now, not side by side, staggered, so no one's head is too close to another's hands. Hands matter at night. Someone coughs. It sounds louder than it should. No one comments. Commenting would wake things. A man closes his eyes, then opens them again almost immediately. Too fast. He looks around, embarrassed. No one is watching. That helps. The owner pretends not to see any of this. They've learned that sleep needs privacy, even when it happens in public. They lower the fire just enough to make the room dimmer, not cold. Darkness helps people disappear into themselves. A woman hums softly. Not a song, just breath with tone. It helps her relax. It helps others too. No one asks her to stop. Asleep or awake, the room prefers quiet cooperation. Someone slides down from sitting to the floor. Slowly, they test each movement. The straw shifts under them. They freeze. Nothing happens. They continue. That small victory matters. The straw smells old and clean and not clean. No one thinks about it long enough to care. A second body joins the floor. Not close, close enough. They turn away from each other. This is how trust looks here. Facing away. The fire pops once. Everyone stirs. No one wakes fully. The moment passes. Someone snores. Briefly, they stop themselves. That takes practice. The owner walks once around the room, not checking, counting, not people, breaths. Everyone is still breathing. Good. They stop near the door. They don't lock it yet. Locked doors mean commitment. Commitment means responsibility. Responsibility waits until morning. A man wakes suddenly, not from a dream, from instinct. He listens. Nothing. He settles again, annoyed at himself. Sleep in places like this comes in pieces. Short, interrupted. Enough. Enough to keep going. Enough to make tomorrow possible. Someone mutters a name. No one recognizes it. Names drift differently at night. They don't belong to anyone anymore. The candle finally goes out. No one replaces it. The fire is enough. The room breathes. Together. Not deeply. Just. Steadily. This is sleep in a medieval tavern. Not rest. Not safety. A pause. A borrowed stillness, where people stop moving long enough for the night to pass over them without taking too much. And when morning comes, they will rise carefully, stretch, check pockets, look around, grateful not because they slept well, but because they slept at all. The waking doesn't arrive all at once. It leaks in. Someone opens one eye and closes it again immediately. Too early. A hand checks a pocket before the mind fully returns. Good. Still there. A leg stretches and hits the bench. The bench answers with its familiar sound. Recognition, not surprise. Someone sits up too fast and freezes halfway, listening for reactions that don't come. That's how they know it's safe enough. The fire is smaller, still alive. A man rubs his face, as if wiping away something that didn't quite become a dream. A woman adjusts her cloak and stands without standing fully upright. Morning here doesn't want to be seen. People rise in stages. Sit, pause, stand. No one speaks yet. Speech would make it official. The owner moves quietly, already awake, longer than everyone else. They don't greet anyone. Greetings belong to daylight. A cup is found where it shouldn't be. No one remembers leaving it there. Memory returns slowly. Someone steps outside, comes back colder, but more awake. Another stays by the fire until their hands stop shaking. This is how the night releases people. Not cleanly, not kindly, just enough. And while people are waking, the animals never really slept. They shift first. A horse stamps outside. Once, then again. The sound travels through the wall and settles under the benches. People hear it without reacting. They know that sound. Leather creaks. A rope tightens. Something snorts softly. Annoyed, the smell arrives before the movement. Warm, wet, alive. A mule shifts its weight, and the ground answers back. Someone mutters, "Easy?" Not to anyone in particular. Animals understand tone better than words. A bucket tips slightly. Water sloshes. That sound wakes more people than voices ever could. Hay rustles. Someone outside adjusts a knot. Too tight, then looser. Animals remember pain longer than people. A horse shakes its head. Metal softly complaining. That sound is old. Older than the building. Older than the rules. Inside, someone pauses mid-step. They wait for the animal to settle before moving again. Courtesy extends beyond species here. A man checks the door, not to leave, but to make sure it still opens. An animal coughs. Someone laughs quietly. Sounds like me. That joke is older than anyone here. The animal answers by stamping again. Conversation of a sort. A dog appears from nowhere. Or maybe it was always there. It stretches, yawns wider than seems possible, then curls back up near the warmth. No one questions its presence. Dogs belong in places like this, the way smoke does. A cart creaks as someone shifts its load. Wood on wood, a promise of movement later. Animals make tomorrow feel closer. They remind everyone that staying is temporary. That rest is borrowed. The tavern holds all of this without separating it. Sleep and waking, people and animals, breath and steam. By the time full morning arrives, most of the night has already left. Only the marks remain. Hoofprints outside, warm spots near the fire, the faint sound of something alive, moving just beyond the wall. And everyone knows, without saying it, that tonight it will all happen again. Not the same, but close enough to recognize. It doesn't announce itself as care. No one says, "Let me help you." That would feel formal, suspicious. Instead, it arrives disguised as convenience. Someone stays closer to the fire than usual. No explanation. Someone else slides a cup toward them without asking if they want it. The cup isn't full. It's warm. Warmth does more work here than medicine ever could. A man sits with one hand pressed into his side. Not dramatically, not complaining, just held there. People notice. They don't stare. Staring turns discomfort into spectacle. The owner sees it too. They don't ask what's wrong. They add something to the drink. Not much, just enough to change the smell. The man drinks it slowly, slower than thirst would require. He exhales through his nose afterward. That sound means something worked. No one asks what was added. Asking would turn it into a remedy. Remedies invite expectation. Expectation is dangerous. Someone else shifts their weight carefully when they stand. Their knee doesn't like mornings anymore. They don't sit back down. They lean. Leaning is allowed. A bench becomes useful in a new way. The room adjusts around small weaknesses without naming them. A woman rubs her wrists near the fire. Not cold, stiff. She rotates them slowly until the movement stops hurting as much. She sighs. That sigh is permission. Someone nearby does the same with their shoulder. Pain spreads through imitation. Relief does too. A man coughs, not loudly. The kind of cough that's been around a while. Someone pushes a bowl toward him. Leftover broth. Thin, salty. He hesitates, then drinks. He doesn't thank anyone. No one expects it. This isn't charity. It's maintenance. The dog lifts its head and watches the man for a moment, then settles again. Animals notice weakness early. The fire is fed more carefully tonight, not higher, steadier. Sudden heat makes joints angry. Steady heat lets them forget themselves. Someone removes one boot, then puts it back on quickly. That was too much exposure, but the attempt mattered. A hand trembles briefly while lifting a cup. It steadies itself on the table. The table doesn't mind. Tables are used to being leaned on. Someone winces when they laugh. They press their lips together until the feeling passes. No one comments. Commenting would make it last longer. The owner passes behind them and places a folded cloth on the bench. Not offered, just placed. The cloth will be used or it won't. Choice is part of care. Later, the cloth is under the man's elbow. No one remembers when that happened. A woman mentions she didn't sleep well. She doesn't say why. No one asks. They nod. Sleep is unreliable in rooms like this. That's understood. Someone suggests she stay closer to the fire next time. Not advice. An observation. She nods. Agreement is easier than solutions. A young man arrives with a scrape on his forearm. Nothing deep, still red. He looks at it, unsure what to do. The owner hands him water and a small bundle of something that smells sharp. Wash it, they say. That's all. He does. The sting makes his eyes water. That's expected. He wraps it poorly. It will have to do. Perfection would be suspicious. Someone older watches this and adjusts their seat. Memory stirs. The room has done this before, many times. People come here, broken, in small ways. The tavern doesn't fix them. It slows the damage. That's the contract. Later, the man with the pain in his side stands. He moves carefully. He nods at the owner. Not gratitude, recognition. He will come back. Not because he was healed, because he was held together. The fire lowers itself. People settle. Pain softens into background noise. The night doesn't cure anything, but it makes tomorrow possible. And that, here, is more than enough. A few nights later, nothing looks different at first. That's how wear works. It hides. The door still opens. The fire still answers. The room still fills enough to matter. But people arrive slower now. Not late. Just unhurried in a tired way. A man pauses on the threshold longer than he used to. Not checking inside, catching his breath. He steps in anyway. The cracked cup is taken again, then set back on the shelf after one sip. He chooses another. No comment. The bench near the wall creaks, and no one reacts at all. That sound has lost its meaning. Someone who used to sit straight leans forward now, elbows on knees. They don't stretch back afterward. Stretching costs something. The fire is fed, but not generously. Just enough. Enough has become the rule. The pot is there. It always is, but fewer bowls reach for it. Those who do eat slower. They stop before they're full. Saving room feels wise. A woman who used to stay until late stands up earlier than usual. She hesitates, looks around as if she's forgotten something, then leaves. No one follows. A regular arrives and doesn't sit. He stands near the fire, warms his hands, and leaves without drinking. That used to be rare. Now it's practical. The dog doesn't get up anymore. When the door opens, it lifts one eye, decides it's not worth it. Someone laughs, then coughs. The laugh doesn't come back. Conversation continues anyway, but it moves around absences now. They talk about things nearby. Nothing that requires energy. A man rubs his knee longer than he should. A woman adjusts her cloak twice. Small negotiations with the body take up more time than words. The owner notices the coins at the end of the night. Fewer. Not worrying fewer. Expected fewer. They nod to themselves. The room empties more evenly now. No rush. No linger. People leave in pairs, without meaning to. Someone who used to sleep here doesn't anymore. No announcement. Just stopped. The straw remains unused. A reminder without a name. Another night passes. The same faces return, but not all of them. One is missing. No one asks where they are. Asking would turn absence into loss. Loss would demand response. Response is exhausting. The fire burns lower by habit now, not caution. Efficiency. Someone adds wood and immediately sits back down. No watching. Trust has shifted. The night feels heavier, not darker. Heavier, like a coat that's been worn too long. The room holds. It always does. But it holds people for less time. And when the door closes at the end of the night, it closes quietly. No one waits for the sound. No one listens for footsteps outside. They know tomorrow will look like this too, and the night after that. Not worse, just used. And that's how the place begins to settle. Not into silence, into endurance. The last night doesn't arrive announced. It looks exactly like the others. The door opens. The fire responds. The room accepts people without asking who they are or why they've come. A few familiar faces arrive. Not all. No one counts who's missing anymore. Counting stopped being useful. Someone takes a seat they always take. Another chooses a different one than usual. Neither choice feels important. The cracked cup is still there. It stays on the shelf tonight. No one reaches for it. No decision was made. The bench creaks once, softly. Someone shifts their weight. That's all. The pot is warm, not full. A bowl is filled halfway and left. unfinished. No one comments. The dog lies near the fire, doesn't lift its head at the sound of the door. It knows this rhythm now. Conversation happens in pieces, not stories, not silence, just enough words to acknowledge each other's presence. Someone laughs once. It doesn't echo. The owner moves through the room the same way they always do. Not watching, not guarding, just present. They pour without measuring. They stop before the cup is full. Everyone understands why, without needing to. A man stands, warms his hands, and leaves without saying anything. Someone else follows a few minutes later. No coordination, just timing. The fire lowers itself again. No one feeds it. It doesn't complain. The room empties slowly, the way a breath leaves the body, when no one is paying attention. One person remains longer than the rest, not waiting, just sitting. They finish their drink, set the cup down carefully, and stand. They look around once, not searching for memory, just confirming. Then they go. The door closes. The sound is softer than it used to be. The owner stands alone for a moment. They don't clean right away. There's nothing urgent to fix. The fire dims until it's just enough to say the night has passed. Outside, something shifts. An animal. A cart. Morning. Beginning its work without ceremony. Inside, the room stays as it is. Not empty, not full. Ready. And if tomorrow night someone opens that door again, the room will answer the same way it always has. Without surprise, without judgment, just by being there.